Bojack Horseman is a popular show often known for its witty puns, stigmatized topics, and realistic depiction of mental illness. Multiple characters deal with controversial topics throughout the show. Sarah Lynn with addiction, Diane with environmental issues, or Todd with his sexuality.
I think I'm asexual.
However, in terms of a troubled life and mental issues, Bojack is the one that stands out the most. Throughout watching the show, a certain pattern starts to form regarding the magnitude of his symptoms, one that wasn't quite clear in the beginning. I'll be honest, as I was just starting off with the new animated show, binging it on Netflix instead of attending college, laying on the couch while downing a bottle of Pepsi, it seemed Bojack was just a troubled, narcissistic guy lacking self-awareness, a somewhat depressed character with substance problems and a fair bit of anxiety. But as the show progressed, more and more it started to look like Bojack might suffer from BPD.
How did I get BPD? Is BPD curable? How serious is BPD? Is BPD easy to fix? Is BPD genetic? Did I get the BPD from my mother? I got it from my mother, right? Again, just like rapid fire, just like answer, don't think about it.
BPD, aka borderline personality disorder, is an issue of emotional dysregulation, and even though it has certain similarities with bipolar disorder, these two are not the same. BPD is a condition characterized by difficulty regulating emotions. This means that people who experience BPD feel emotions intensely and for extended periods of time, and it is harder for them to return to a stable baseline after an emotionally triggering event.
I find myself waiting. Hey Mom, knock once if you love me and care about me and want me to know that I made your life a little bit brighter.
This difficulty can lead to impulsivity, poor self-image, stormy relationships, and intense emotional responses to stressors. Struggling with self-regulation can also result in dangerous behaviors, such as self-harm. It's estimated that 1.6% of the adult US population has BPD, but the number may be as high as 5.9%. Nearly 75% of people diagnosed with BPD are women. Recent studies suggest that men may be equally affected by BPD, but are commonly misdiagnosed with PTSD or depression. So now that we are more familiar with what is BPD, let's go over the main signs and symptoms, and let's compare them with Bojack's character. 1. Attempts to avoid real or imagined abandonment, such as rapidly initiating intimate physical or emotional relationships, or cutting off communication with someone in anticipation of being abandoned. An example of this can be found from Season 1, where Bojack manipulated Todd with the help of the character actress Margot Martindale to get him addicted to video games, so he would stay reliant to Bojack. People with BPD can often have low self-esteem, resulting them to manipulate the people around them in anticipation of being abandoned. That we see Bojack doing a lot. 2. A pattern of intense and unstable relationships with family, friends, and loved ones, often swinging from extreme closeness and love, called idealization, to extreme dislike or anger, also known as devaluation.
You know that I don't do the whole love thing. Either you end up hurting someone or they hurt you, so what's the point?
Relationships can be difficult for everyone, but they can be especially complex for someone with BPD. Bojack has had his fair share of relationships that were toxic or didn't work out due to his own troubled personality. Bojack's on-again, off-again relationship with Princess Caroline demonstrates his inability to commit emotionally, and his connection with his mother is all sorts of complicated. His relationship with Wanda started off well, and one of the main reasons why Bojack liked Wanda so much was because she wasn't familiar with any of his bad traits, but as Wanda began to learn more about them, the relationship started falling apart. Eventually, the relationship ended when Bojack threatened to essentially suffocate himself if she doesn't confess her love for him.
You know, it's funny. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
3. Distorted and unstable self-image or sense of self. Like his views and relations with other people, Bojack's self-image is also constantly changing, and his sense of self can go from greatest person alive to a piece of shit rather quickly. Bojack has continuous struggles with his identity and self-image. He is unsure about his personality and skills, which leads him to search for external validation from the people around him to reaffirm his identity, but whatever he tries to do, his identity always ends up being obscure.
I know that I can be selfish and narcissistic and self-destructive, but underneath all that, deep down, I'm a good person and I need you to tell me that I'm good. Diane? Tell me, please, Diane, tell me that I'm good.
4. Impulsive and often dangerous behaviors such as spending sprees, unsafe drinking, substance abuse, reckless driving, and binge eating. Bojack fits into all of these behavior traits, and in most cases he turns to these activities when he wants to punish himself or needs an escape from a situation or even from himself. He had intercourse with Todd's girlfriend while knowing it would destroy Todd and his relationship. Our favorite horse also intended to sleep with Charlotte's 17-year-old daughter, which would jeopardize his relationship with Charlotte and Penny. Bojack has issues with binge eating, and it often occurs due to feelings of shame, stress, and guilt, or due to loss of control.
Yeah, but I didn't even eat that much bread. What did I have? I must have had...
You ate 9 baskets, sir.
9, but really? Great, now I'm gonna feel like a fat ass all week.
He also has issues with reckless driving and spending sprees, but his main dangerous trait becomes clear early on, and that of course is substance abuse. He uses it mostly to escape reality, which he wants to do pretty much every day, and when something more substantial happens, he goes on these long benders. This occurred after Diane got engaged and Bojack went on a 2-week bender, or when Bojack and Sarah Lynn took a bunch of drugs and alcohol while trying to make amends. And just in case someone forgot how much Bojack drinks, here's a quick montage. 5. Recurring thoughts of ending your life or such behaviors. This behavior can appear often for people with BPD and for many different reasons. Some use it as an escape from overwhelming emotions, while others may use it as a way to manipulate people. As we established, Bojack threatened to sensually suffocate himself if she doesn't confess her love for him, but he has actually tried ending his life before, with the most memorable one occurring at the end of Season 3. Research has shown that about 75% of people with BPD will make at least one attempt in their lifetime, and around 9% of people complete it, making it one of the most dangerous mental illnesses. If you are experiencing life or mental issues, please don't shy away from asking for help, and feel free to also check out our newly made site which focuses on such matters. 6. Intense and highly changeable moods. Bojack's mood is constantly changing, with him at times experiencing intense dysphoria, anger, anxiety, or overly joyous positivity, all in a short period of time. In the first episode, Bojack has what a doctor later describes as a minor anxiety attack, when he finds himself thinking that maybe he's just a washed-up has-been. The panic attack is so bad he ends up in the hospital. When Princess Carolyn suggests Bojack call the ghostwriter because the book deal is stressing him out, Bojack proceeds to see for herself.
What, you want me to call this woman on the phone?
Well, you just had another anxiety attack.
And Entertainment Weekly said I wasn't consistent. Really, not even a pity laugh? I did almost die.
7. Chronic feelings of emptiness. Anyone who has ever dealt with emptiness knows how draining it can be. People with BPD tend to have strong feelings of nothingness, and it is often connected with the lack of self-worth they feel in their relationships. This directly correlates with some of the primary causes of borderline, such as neglect by parents and emotional abuse. Another common symptom and cause of emptiness is the feeling that life lacks meaning, which can leave a person feeling emotionally numb, despondent, isolated, and anxious. Some describe the experience as an empty feeling in their chest. People attempt to fill that void in a number of ways, often engaging in activities that are ultimately unfulfilling, such as compulsive shopping, eating, or the use of substances.
But there has to be more.
Well, when's the last time you were actually happy?
Unfortunately, our consumer culture often capitalizes on feelings like emptiness, promising fulfillment with this or that product. A person might instead attempt to combat emotional emptiness and give new meaning to their life by volunteering, taking up a hobby, adopting a pet, cultivating or maintaining a spiritual practice, or other activities that may prove more emotionally fulfilling. We do not have to delve far into the show to encounter signs of such emptiness in our protagonist. The opening of the show includes Bojack's bust superimposed over different scenes. His face is sad, eyes empty and lifeless. He appears totally indifferent and unresponsive, which gives the viewer a subtle glimpse into our main character. 8. Inappropriate, intense anger or problems controlling anger.
Yeah, there were exactly 12. I ate 12 muffins, and I didn't even want one. There's your goddamn news story. The mystery of my missing goddamn self-respect.
What is the cause of most disrupted friendships? Anger. What is the cause of poor functioning as a spouse? Poor handling of angry feelings. What makes some work environments unpleasant? Intense conflicts. How interested are you in continuing to interact with people who express their frustrations in angry tones? Not very, I would assume. Anger in BPD is described as inappropriate, intense anger, or difficulty controlling anger. The reason anger in BPD is called inappropriate is because the level of it seems to be more intense than is warranted by the situation or event that triggered it. A person with BPD may react to an event that may seem small or unimportant to someone else with very strong and unhealthy expressions of anger, such as yelling, being sarcastic, or even becoming physically violent. 9. Feelings of dissociation, such as feeling cut off from oneself, seeing oneself from outside one's body, or feelings of unreality. Dissociation is a mental process of disconnecting from one's thoughts, feelings, memories, or sense of identity. Bojack dissociates on a smaller level quite regularly, disconnecting almost entirely from his environment, and at times, his emotions. Our protagonist has also dissociated more seriously at certain instances, completely losing his sense of time and reality. However, it is difficult to say how much of that blame substances carry.
I asked if you were close with your father and you sat here in silence for 5 minutes and then said uneventful?
Seems that most symptoms are quite spot on, and looking at the main causes for borderline personality disorder, such as emotional or physical neglect and parental insensitivity, it is no surprise that Bojack might suffer from BPD, or at the very least, from most of the major symptoms.
You're a millionaire movie star with a girlfriend who loves you, acting in your dream movie. What more do you want? What else could the universe possibly owe you?
I want to feel good about myself. The way you do. And I don't know how. I don't know if I can.
But let us know, what do you think? And if you liked the video, do what every YouTuber tells you to do in their outros, I'm sure you all know. Take care and see you on the next one.